Time now for our weekly insider. In a digital world, political campaigns are fought and won using digital tools. These days, campaigns learn how to prey on your fears by analyzing your personality. It's called psychographic targeting. One of the leaders in the field is Cambridge Analytica.
Psychographics. That is an understanding of your personality, because it's personality that drives behavior, and behavior that obviously influences how you vote.
That's the CEO of Cambridge Analytica. In 2016, the Trump and Brexit campaigns used this type of data to prey on the public's fears. Trump's head of social media explained how it works to a BBC reporter.
They do specialize in psychographics, right? But based on personal interests and based on what they, a person cares for and what, means something to them, they were able to extract, and then we were able to target. So
how would they know that?
Within that,
how would they know that?
That's their secret sauce.
Here's where it gets interesting for Canada. In 2016, the Trump, Brexit and Ted Cruz campaigns were bankrolled by billionaire Robert Mercer and his political operative Steve Bannon. We're exclusively revealing today that a startup based in Victoria, BC, AggregateIQ, also had ties to Mercer, Bannon and Cruz. AggregateIQ made millions convincing Britons to vote to leave the EU. They also developed a Facebook tracking tool for Steve Bannon. According to this resume, which we obtained, a senior developer describes the tool as a system to generate statistical data from interactions between users and a large Facebook group. Sounds a lot like what the Trump campaign did. And there's more. AggregateIQ also worked alongside Bannon and Mercer on Ted Cruz's presidential campaign. The company is under investigation now by UK election officials and the BC Privacy Commissioner. Aggregate co-founder Jeff Sylvester says his company did some work for Cambridge Analytica's parent company some time ago, but we have not worked with any Trump political action committees or for the Trump campaign itself. So this leaves us with a lot of questions around the Canadian company's role and how our personal data is being used during campaigns, most of the time without our knowledge. Joining me is David Carroll. He's a media prof at Parsons in New York who writes extensively about these issues. So, David, how big a role do companies like these, Cambridge Analytica and here in Canada, AggregateIQ, how big a role do they have in swaying people's votes?
It's difficult to tell how effective they are at swaying votes, but we know for sure that their capabilities are expanding, the quantity and variety of data that they're using is expanding, and their ability to integrate their practice with things like Facebook, other social media, television targeting is only expanding. So their capabilities expand while our understanding of what they do is not expanding at the same rate. So the investigations that are occurring are extremely important for the public to get a better understanding of how it's working and how our knowledge about it can change the way they work.
How unusual is it to you to hear that there's this little Canadian company that's working not only on the Brexit campaign, but has ties to people like Robert Mercer of Cambridge Analytica, Steve Bannon of Breitbart and White House fame? How unusual is that?
It seems unusual that this voter analytics industry has become international in nature. So I would assume that Canadians might be concerned that Americans are, in a sense, investing in a Canadian company that may be doing work on Canadian elections. I think Americans should be concerned that a Canadian company is working on American elections. Why is this business not a domestic one exclusively? Because these are exclusively domestic affairs, domestic data, domestic policy. So what is going on with the internationalization of this industry? That's the big question, I think.
So that's what you're trying to get at. You've been trying to get Cambridge Analytica to show you the data that they've collected on you. What do you know so far? I saw some chart that shows that they have on you. What does it show you?
Sure. So interestingly, because of this internationalization, U.S. voter data appears to have been processed in the United Kingdom for the 2016 election. And because UK law is much stronger than U.S. law, I was able to ask for a copy of my data, and they had to provide it. And it has in it accurate voter registration information, accurate historical election results according to my district, and then the chart you're referring to is a list of 10 political issues ranked in importance, as well as my partisanship and my likelihood of participating has all been modeled out there. And we have a lot of questions about how they determined my political beliefs.
What's left to know? What are you demanding to know now?
Where did they get my data? How did they use it to process the profile on me? And who did they share it with? And then most importantly, do I have a right to opt out of this, to have them delete my data and never be targeted and profiled again in the future?
So you're waiting for that information. David Carroll, thank you so much for this.
Thank you for having me.
Professor David Carroll in New York today.